In today's video, we're going to learn how to utilize the pen tool to create curved paths. Yesterday, we learned how to make straight paths with our pen tool. We can activate the pen tool with the letter P or just find it here underneath the magic wand tool in the tools panel. In order to create a straight line, we just need to click down and create anchor points. Every time we click, another path is drawn and another point is made. In order to close our shape, we go back to the first point we made and we wait until we see the pen tool with that little circle, which means you're about to close your shape. And then you can fill this shape with any color that you want. And that's how you use the pen tool to create a straight path. But in order to use the pen tool to create curved paths, it's a little different. This time, instead of just clicking and clicking, we're going to click and hold. So I'm going to make one anchor point down with my pen tool, but the next anchor point, I'm going to click and drag my mouse. I'm not going to release my finger off my trackpad or my mouse. And if you notice, two handles have appeared and I have a curve about to be formed. I still have two anchor points, but these little blue things that look like a seesaw kind of thing, that is called your Bezier curve, your handles. So the longer I pull this out, the bigger or the looser my curve, the closer my handles are to my original anchor point, the straighter or the tighter my curve is. So I'm going to keep it right around here. And if you notice, now I will create a curved line. I'm going to get rid of the fill here so you can see. Now, if you notice, I didn't really have to click and hold my third point here. As soon as you start a curved path, Illustrator will continue to curve your line, even if you don't want it to actually. So let's say I wanted to make a straight line. I'm just going to click and not hold. You'll notice, zoom in a little, you'll notice that the curved line is still there even though I didn't click and hold. Once these handles are created, Illustrator thinks you're going to continue to draw curved paths until you tell it otherwise. Now what if I wanted to go from a curved line to a straight line? I can still click and drag my handles, but let's say from here I wanted to go back to a straight path. If I click on the last anchor point, you'll notice that my pen tool has a little V or caret, I call it. If I click on the last anchor point when this pops up, you'll notice that that handle has now disappeared, which allows me to draw straight lines. The same can be said, let's say I want to go from a straight line to a curved line. I'm going to hover over my last anchor point, wait until I see that little caret, click and drag. What I'm dragging right now is not an anchor point, it is a handle, meaning it's going to tell Illustrator what direction I want my curve to go in. Do I want to go to the left, to the right, or downward? I'm going to put it towards the left. And then I'm going to make another anchor point. And if you notice, my curve has gone towards the left. In order to end a path that I've begun drawing, I should either close it or click enter. Once I click enter, I can start a new path. If I don't do that, what happens is I think I'm done with this path. I want to start a new one, and it connects. So always hit enter. For today's activity, you're going to follow the diagram in order to create this circle. Please don't use the ellipse tool. I want you to have practice with the pen tool. So for the pen tool, I'm going to click and drag. I won't release my mouse. It says to hold down shift. This will keep my handles perfectly straight. And I'm going to release my mouse once my mouse has touched this circle here. Then I'm going to create another anchor point where the number 3 is. Click and drag downward. I'm doing the same thing over here. Click and drag downward. Each time I'm dragging downward, I'm holding down shift. It keeps it perfectly aligned for me. Do this one more time. And then I'm going to close my shape. Still holding shift and making sure my mouse is not released until I get to that number 2. Now I should have a pretty good circle. For the second part of the activity, I want to click down and hold down shift, but I'm dragging upwards this time. Shift is going to keep this from going all over the place and staying in a straight line. Once I've released it, don't get confused. This is a handle. This is not an anchor point. I haven't made a second anchor point. I'm going to make a second anchor point where it says 3. I'm going to click and hold down shift again and drag downward. I'm going to do the same thing. Click on this point, drag upwards, holding shift. Click on this point, drag downwards, holding shift. I'm going to take off my fill so you can see what I have there. Now letters are a little more difficult because they go in different directions. You don't want to do one of these where you kind of add a million points because it becomes jagged and very difficult to work with. Let's delete that. You want to use your anchor points sparingly, so it's a smoother option. So I'm going to start with the beginning of my letter, and I know my curve is going upwards and to the left, so I'm going to click and drag in that area, in that direction. Then I'll make another anchor point where I see that my angle is suddenly changing direction. It's going from up and to the left to down. I'm going to make one right around here and pull downward. Now my angle is changing again from downward towards the right, so I'm going to add another anchor point. Maybe another one right around here where my curve is changing direction again. And I think I can get away with one more. Now, placement of anchor points is just a practice. It doesn't come intuitively. You're going to have to get used to where you should place your anchor points, how many you should put down. But with more practice, you're going to find that the less anchor points you use, the better, and the less choppy your image will look at the end.